Hey there, history buffs. Welcome to WTF History, where we dive into the wildest, darkest, and most jaw-dropping moments of the past. Today, we're unraveling a story so scandalous it'll make your head spin. Picture this. It's October 31st, 1501, All Hallows Eve, and the Vatican, the heart of Christianity, is hosting a party that's anything but holy. 50 courtesans crawl across marble floors, chasing chestnuts in a game that's less about autumn fun and more about shocking debauchery. And who's watching from a golden throne, wine goblet raised? Pope Alexander VI, the man who turned God's house into history's most infamous brothel. This is the tale of the Borgias, a family so ruthless, so corrupt, they redefine what it means to play dirty. From a Spanish outsider's rise to power to a night that stained the papacy forever, this is a saga of blood, betrayal, and blasphemy. Grab a drink, settle in, and let's dive into the chaos of Renaissance Rome, where the Borgias ruled and nothing was sacred. Let's start in 1449 with a dusty young Spaniard named Rodrigo Borgia riding into Rome. He's 20. With sharp eyes and a sharper mind, trailing his uncle, Cardinal Alonso de Borja. Rome's a tough crowd back then. Italian nobles sneer at these Catalan barbarians with their strange accents and provincial manners. Rodrigo's Spanish consonants cut through the air like a foreign blade, and the locals mock him, expecting him to fade into the Vatican's endless corridors. But Rodrigo's not here to play nice. Behind his charming smile, he's already scheming. Rome's a snake pit of ambition. Cardinals trade bribes, priests keep mistresses, and the papacy's more about gold than God. Rodrigo sees it all and starts taking notes. Every whispered deal, every drunken cardinal, every secret sin goes into his mental ledger. This guy's not just ambitious. He's a predator learning his prey's every move. During his first Mass at St. Peter's, witnesses notice something odd. While everyone's praying, Rodrigo's scanning the congregation like a merchant sizing up a market. He's not here for salvation. He's here for leverage. The Italian elite control everything. Money, influence, sacred offices. They laugh at Rodrigo's accent, dismiss his hunger for power as a joke. But in 1455, the game changes. His uncle Alonso becomes Pope Calixtus III, and suddenly, the sneers turn to nervous whispers. Nepotism's normal in Rome, but Rodrigo takes it to another level. At 25, he's named a cardinal, not for piety or scholarship, but because he's family. The Italian cardinals, who've spent decades climbing the ladder, are furious. This Spanish kid, barely out of his teens, is now their equal, and he's not slowing down. Rodrigo doesn't just wear the red hat. He uses it. As vice-chancellor of the Roman Church, he controls who gets what: monasteries, dioceses, benefits. Money flows through his hands, and a lot of it sticks. He's getting richer than nobles who've hoarded wealth for centuries. But wealth's just a tool. Power's the prize, and in Renaissance Rome, power's about knowing everyone's price. Rodrigo's genius is figuring out exactly what that price is. A cardinal wants land? Done. Another needs his gambling debts erased? Handled. He studies his colleagues like a wolf circling a flock, noting who drinks too much, who breaks their vows, who gambles church funds. He doesn't judge. He files it away. Every weakness is a weapon. Every sin a bargaining chip. The other cardinals think he's one of them, laughing at their jokes, sharing their vices. They don't realize they're teaching corruption's future master. By 1492, Pope Innocent VIII's dying, and the papal throne's up for grabs. This isn't a divine selection, it's an auction. Rodrigo's been preparing for decades, stockpiling gold, secrets, and favors. The Sistine Chapel, meant for holy prayers, becomes a marketplace. Cardinal Ascanio Sforza wants the vice-chancellorship's revenue? Done. Cardinal Orsini wants vineyards for his family? Signed. Cardinal Savelli needs his debts cleared? No problem. It's not just corruption, it's competitive corruption. Rodrigo's rival, Cardinal della Rovere, is bribing too. But Rodrigo knows every cardinal's weakness. For the glutton, he offers rich benefices. For the lustful, protection for their indiscretions. For the greedy, chests of gold ducats. The final vote comes down to Cardinal Piccolomini, who holds out, maybe for principle, maybe for a better deal. Rodrigo visits him at midnight, and nobody knows what was said, but at dawn, the votes are cast, and Rodrigo wins. The bells of St. Peter's ring, but to Romans, they sound like coins clinking. Pope Alexander VI, named for a conqueror, not a saint, steps onto the balcony. His bought cardinals behind him, already counting their profits. Alexander's coronation is the most expensive in history. A golden throne rolls through Rome, coins toss the crowds. Banquets stretching for days, wine flowing like rivers. The message is clear. This pope rules through pleasure, not piety. He creates new cardinal positions and sells them, refilling his coffers. He hands out castles and territories to supporters, binding them with golden chains. Foreign kings send gifts, gold from Naples, jewels from Milan, and within 6 months, Alexander's tripled his election costs. The Spanish outsiders turned the papacy into Europe's most profitable business. But keeping that throne means controlling a family as ruthless as he is. And that's where things get messy. Alexander's got 4 illegitimate kids. 1, Cesare, Lucrezia, and Goffredo, born to his mistress, Venazia Catanii. Most clergy hide their kids, calling them nephews. Not Alexander. He parades them at Vatican banquets, showers them with titles, and uses them as weapons in his war for power. Juan's the warrior, meant to lead armies. Cesare's the brilliant second son, forced into the church. Lucrezia is the alliance maker, married off for deals. Goffredo's the spare, securing southern territories. They're not just kids, they're a dynasty in training, and Rome's scandalized. The Pope, sworn to celibacy, is a family patriarch with a tiara, and his kids are as dangerous as he is. But family's tricky, especially when they're Borgias. One struts around in military finery, despite being a terrible soldier. Cesare, stuck in cardinal's robes, burns with envy. Lucrezia navigates their hatred with a smile, and even young Goffredo shows a cruel streak. Alexander's lit a fuse, and it's about to blow. By 1501, the stage is set for a night that'll define the Borgia legacy, the Banquet of Chestnuts. But before we get to that unholy party, let's see how Rome became the slaughterhouse under Alexander's rule, and how one of his own kids ends up in the Tiber. If you're hooked already, stick around, because this story's about to get bloodier. Rome, 1497, is a city where death's as common as morning mass. You step outside, and the air's thick with the smell of blood. The cobblestones are stained red, not from wine, but from the 200 murders this year alone. Those are just the ones worth counting. The Tiber River's a floating morgue, with fishermen giving up because their nets keep snagging corpses, not fish. Kids play games with the bodies. 3 before noon means rain, they chant, pointing at bloated figures drifting past. This isn't a battlefield. It's the heart of Christianity, and Pope Alexander VI's running the show. He's not just letting this happen. He's the ringmaster, turning murder into theater. Every Tuesday, Alexander holds public tribunals in the Vatican. Picture him on his golden throne, robes pristine, deciding who lives and who dies. Murderers walk free if they've killed Borgia enemies. Innocent men hang if their deaths serve the family's interests. It's not justice, it's a performance. And Romans pack the court like it's a gladiator match, cheering guilty verdicts, booing acquittals unless the guy's popular. Alexander's mastered fear, not faith. His papal guards don't investigate murders. They take bribes to look away. Why risk your life when the killers likely work for the Vatican? Rome's a maze of danger now. Every alley hides an assassin. Neighbors covet your shop, your wife, your life. The old greeting, "Peace be with you," is gone, replaced by glances checking for daggers. Mothers teach kids to walk against walls, away from doorways where knives wait. It gets darker. During carnival season, Alexander turns murder into entertainment. He releases condemned criminals into the Vatican courtyard, then watches from his window as his son Cesare and his men hunt them like animals. The Pope, meant to embody Christ's mercy, blesses skillful kills. Foreign ambassadors, forced to attend, write horrified reports. The Vicar of Christ applauds as swords open arteries. Assassination's a job now, with price tags, 50 ducats for a merchant, 200 for a noble, negotiable for clergy. Poison sellers set up shop near apothecaries. Sword schools teach murder alongside fencing. Confession booths hear killers seeking absolution on credit, planning to sin now, repent later. Rome's spiritual soul is gutted, replaced by a marketplace of blood. But the violence hits home when a fisherman's net snags something heavy in the Tiber, June 1497. It's a velvet sleeve, worth more than his boat. He pulls, and up comes one Borgia, Duke of Gandia, Alexander's favorite son. His throat slashed, head barely attached, 9 stab wounds like signatures. His purse is untouched. This isn't robbery, it's personal. Alexander, who's ignored hundreds of murders, collapses. Witnesses say his scream echoes through the Vatican like a soul being torn apart. He crawls on stone floors, beating his chest, calling Juan's name in sobs that don't sound human. For 3 days, he locks himself away, refusing food, refusing to say Massachusetts cardinals huddle outside. Some praying, others plotting, wondering if the papacy's open. Everyone's asking, who killed Juan? One was Alexander's dream, the warrior to lead armies and build a dynasty. He was arrogant, cruel, and incompetent, but to Alexander, he was perfect. The details of Juan's last night emerge like a twisted tale. June 14th, he's at a family dinner at Venazza's villa. He leaves early with a masked figure. Some say a woman, others aren't sure. His groom says he dismissed his guards, riding into the night. By morning, he's in the Tiber. Suspects pile up. The Orsini family, who uncrossed. Cardinal Sforza, sick of Borgia dominance. A jealous husband, since one loved other men's wives. But whispers point to Cesare, the brilliant older brother forced into cardinal's robes while one played soldier. Cesare's whereabouts that night? Nobody knows. Alexander emerges talking reform, promising to purify the church to honor Juan. Committees form, documents are drafted, and for a moment, it seems tragedy might redeem him. But this is the Borgias. The reform lasts 6 weeks. By August, Alexander's back to his pleasures, but he's changed. He's paranoid, with food tasters and guards everywhere. Juan's death taught him even Borgias bleed. The investigation's a sham. Witnesses vanish, evidence disappears, because Alexander knows the truth could destroy more than the killer. And Cesare? He's about to trade his robes for a sword. And Italy's never seen anything like him. Let's see what happens when a cardinal becomes a warlord. It's August 17th, 1498, and St. Peter's Basilica is thick with tension. Cesare Borgia, 22, stands before the College of Cardinals, his red robes pooling like blood. He's the first cardinal to resign voluntarily, and his father, Pope Alexander, presides with tears, pride, grief, maybe both. As Cesare sheds his ecclesiastical chains, witnesses see him smile, a rare flash of joy. He's free, and the serpent's ready to strike. Juan's death, whether Cesare's doing or not, is his chance to break out. Alexander learned from Juan's failures. If the Borgias need a general, Cesare's the one. Cesare doesn't just become a soldier. He becomes a legend. He cuts a deal with King Louis XII of France, trading a papal annulment for troops. Within months, he's storming Italy with terrifying precision. He takes impregnable fortresses, crushes armies twice his size, and introduces artillery tactics that rewrite warfare. The guy who memorized prayers now memorizes terrain maps. Italy's stunned. One day, he's a soft churchman. The next, a war machine with French cannons and Borgia ruthlessness. His methods make Alexander's corruption look quaint. In Faenza, he promises a young duke safe passage, then strangles him, tossing the body into the Tiber. In Camerino, he garrotes a lord mid-dinner. Cities fall because surrender might mean survival. Resistance guarantees death, and Cesare's creative about it. Soldiers whisper he's made a demonic pact, his black mask in battle-hiding scars, or something worse. Cesare comes is Italy's scariest phrase, more effective than any siege engine. Cesare's not just winning battles, he's building an empire. Every city swears loyalty to him, not the Pope. Alexander watches, pride warring with unease. His sons outshining him, draining the papal treasury for his war chest, demanding papal bulls for conquests Alexander questions. Cesare's court is a mobile house of horrors. Artists sketch victories and deaths. Musicians weave screams into marches, and his mistresses, noble women from conquered cities, are living trophies. Without one to compete with, Cesare's ambition turns to dominating Italy entirely. Lucrezia becomes his spy in her married courts. Goffredo's sidelined. Even Alexander bends to his son's demands. The Pope who laughed at death now fears Cesare's shadow. But unleashing a monster like Cesare has risks. He's not just securing Borgia power. He's building his own throne. And what's to stop him from turning on his father? Let's shift to someone caught in this storm. Lucrezia, the daughter whose learning love is a luxury she can't afford. Picture Lucrezia Borgia in 1501-21, standing at her third wedding altar. Her white silk veil can't hide the shadows under her eyes or the mechanical precision of her smile. She's a political treaty, not a bride, married off again to cement her father's alliances. This isn't a fairy tale. It's a chessboard, and Lucrezia is the queen being moved. Let's rewind to her first marriage at 13, to Giovanni Sforza in 1493. The Sforzas are powerful, and Alexander needs them. Lucrezia is a kid, but she's a contract. The marriage holds until Alexander's alliances shift, and Giovanni becomes a liability. The Pope doesn't just annul it. He forces Giovanni to declare himself impotent before the papal court. Imagine the humiliation. A grown man proclaiming he couldn't consummate his marriage with a teenage bride. It's a lie. Servants whisper about normal marital relations, and Giovanni's got a kid from before. But when the Pope says you're impotent, you agree or join the Tiber's floaters. Giovanni flees, and Lucrezia, 16, is a virgin again by papal decree. That annulment erases her life like it never happened. Her father kisses her forehead while plotting her next match. Cesare evaluates suitors like livestock. The Romans whisper, incest, witchcraft, turning her beauty into a curse. Then comes Alfonso of Aragon in 1498, young and handsome. He actually cares about Lucrezia, and for 18 months, she knows happiness. They have a son, laugh together, forget the Borgia toxicity. But alliances shift again, and Alfonso's family falls from favor. On July 15th, 1500, he stabbed on St. Peter's steps, surviving only to be strangled in his sickbed by Cesare's assassin, Micheletto, on August 18th. Lucrezia's screams echo as she's dragged away, her second widowhood as fake as her first annulment. She's 20, a mother, twice widowed, and the lesson's clear. Love is weakness, survival requires stone. By 1501, she's married to Alfonso d'Este of Ferrara, reciting vows like a list, exchanging rings like receipts. Her husband knows he's marrying a treaty. The Romans call her a black widow, devouring husbands. The truth that she's a traumatized pawn is less juicy. Lucrezia's learned to smile through anything, a skill she'll need for what's coming. Because while Cesare conquers and Alexander counts gold, a German priest is watching, recording every sin. His name's Johann Burchard, and his diary's about to become the Borgias' worst nightmare. Imagine being Johann Burchard, a German priest in his 50s, standing in a Vatican corner with a ledger. It's 1501, and as master of ceremonies, your job's to make sure every papal event runs smoothly. Processions, masses, the works. But you're also watching and writing. Every night by candlelight. You dip your quill and record the Borgias' crimes. Murders, orgies, blasphemies. Your diary's a bureaucrat's apocalypse, written with clinical precision. His Holiness received visitors. Might mean diplomacy or debauchery. Cardinal departed unexpectedly. Often means a body in the Tiber. You're not judging, you're documenting. And that's what makes you dangerous. You're doing this under the Borgias' noses. You're there when Cardinal Orsini collapses, poisoned by papal wine. You prepare chambers for Alexander's courtesans. You bless weapons for Cesare's doomed campaigns. Nobody suspects you because your job requires notes. Your genius is hiding in plain sight, blending damning entries with records of Easter processions. But the strain's real. Your hand trembles as you write about Alexander plotting assassinations while Lucrezia pours wine. Servants disappear, a chambermaid, a guard. The food taster, all because they saw too much. You survive because your role's too visible. Killing you would raise questions even Alexander can't silence. Your diary's a masterpiece of survival. Coded in plain text, never editorializing. Each entry's a rebellion, insisting the truth will outlive the Borgias. You watch Cesare become a killer, Lucrezia weep at her husband's funeral. Alexander grieve, one then return to corruption. You hide pages under floorboards, burn others too dangerous to keep. Once, Alexander demands your records, and you hand over edited versions. Heart-pounding. Cesare asks why you're always writing. You mumble about liturgical accuracy, mentally noting his latest victim. Your diary's your death warrant. If found, it's torture, not just execution. Yet you can't stop. The scandals demand documentation, the blasphemies a witness. By 1501, you're addicted to truth in a palace of lies. And you're about to record the Borgias' darkest night, the Banquet of Chestnuts. It's October 28th, 1501, and the Vatican's buzzing with strange orders. Servants haul in 50 beds, barrels of wine, and candles to light St. Peter's Square. Cesare's apartments are transformed with military precision, furniture rearranged into an arena of sin. Religious art, crucifixes, saints, is removed or draped in suggestive silk. Pope Alexander, the Vicar of Christ, oversees preparations for an orgy that'll make Sodom blush. The date, All Hallows Eve, is deliberate, a middle finger to heaven on a night when the sacred and profane blur. The guest list is a battle plan. Cardinals who need compromising are invited. Those with moral spine are excluded. Ambassadors get hints that attendance means diplomatic favors. Join the party or you're against the Borgias. The 50 courtesans aren't street prostitutes, but Rome's elite, chosen for beauty, stamina, and willingness to shock even themselves. The number's symbolic, mocking Pentecost divine inspiration. Every detail, candelabras, menu, music, mocks something holy. Servants, sworn to secrecy on pain of death, scurry with supplies that would horrify their grandmothers. Cesare inspects beds like battlefield positions. Alexander reviews the guest list, noting who's in, who needs encouragement. An elderly chambermaid faints at the sight of 50 beds. A priest weeps removing crucifixes, but tears don't stop the Borgias. At 10 p.m. on October 31st, it begins. Johann Burchard notes the time, his quill shaking. The lavish dinner in Cesare's apartments turns into hell. Courtesans shed noble gowns to music, and servants scatter chestnuts across the floor. The women crawl on all fours, collecting them with their mouths, shadows writhing on saintless walls. Alexander, on his golden throne, blesses this blasphemy. Cesare awards points for speed and creativity. Cardinals shift between arousal and terror, knowing they're compromised. Ambassadors scribble coded notes, unable to capture the horror. The chestnut game's just a start. Cesare announces prizes, silk cloaks, jeweled slippers, Vatican jobs, for courtesans who perform the most acts with papal servants. Alexander offers suggestions that make professionals pause. The halls echo with sounds never meant to violate them. Lucrezia is there, a porcelain mask, watching with the calm of her weddings. The Borgias sin together, bound by blackmail. By midnight, it's a Donian nightmare. Cardinals, once observers, are entangled, their vestments stained. The sacred and profane don't blur. They shatter. At dawn, bodies sprawl across floors, chestnuts like broken rosaries. Alexander slumps, satisfied. Cesare performe. Servants clean for morning mass, but Burchard writes, some stains never wash away. The Banquet of Chestnuts is over, but its purpose is just beginning. Let's see what it was really about. The Vatican at dawn, November 1st, 1501. Looks like a battlefield device. Cardinals stumble out, avoiding eye contact, robes crumpled. Courtesans collect prizes, silk, jewels, Vatican jobs, while servants sweep up chestnuts and scrub stains. Alexander, in his golden chair, surveys the chaos with a smile. Cesare directs cleanup like a general. But this wasn't just a party, it was a power play. Every guest was chosen to be bought or blackmailed. Cardinals caught in compromising acts are now Borgia puppets. Ambassadors entangled face diplomatic pressure. Participation meant complicity. Absence meant defiance, and defiance meant danger. The Banquet of Chestnuts was a honey trap, a web of mutual damnation to secure Borgia dominance. Lucrezia's presence adds darkness. She watches her father and brother orchestrate this with wedding day calm, declining wine, dismissing courtesans. She's tainted by proximity, but protected by coldness. A Borgia bound by shared secrets. The night's a statement. Nothing's sacred. The Pope blessing prostitutes in God's house proves it. Every prize, every appointment, screams that the church is theirs to defile. But Alexander's feeling the weight of his choices. Juan's murder in 1497 haunts him. He's paranoid, with food tasters and guards everywhere. The investigation was a sham because the truth could destroy his family. Cesare's conquests, meanwhile, are too big. Cities swear loyalty to him, not the Pope. The sun's not a weapon anymore. He's a threat. Alexander's empire, built on fear, is cracking, and even he's afraid of Cesare's shadow. The banquet cements the Borgia legacy as corruption incarnate. But it's also their undoing. Let's see how it all falls apart. It's August 1503, and Alexander's at a dinner outside Rome, planning to poison his host. Classic Borgia. But something goes wrong. He drinks the wrong cup, and within hours, he's dead at 72, his body blackened from poison. Was it an accident? Or did someone outsmart the master? The irony's thick. The Pope who lived by poison dies by it. Cesare, at the same dinner, survives the poison but loses everything. Without papal protection, his enemies close in. His French allies ditch him, and Italy's cities revolt. By 1507, he's fighting in obscure Spanish skirmishes, far from Rome's glory. In a muddy field in Navarre, Cesare, 31, is cut down, his body stripped and left for crows. A pathetic end for the man who terrorized Italy. Homme mouvant. Pope Julius II, Alexander's successor, seals the Borgia apartments, calling them a tomb for their sins. He commissions Raphael's frescoes to cover their legacy, but servants whisper that no paint hides the stench of that Halloween night. Some hear scraping sounds, like fingernails chasing chestnuts. The physical empire, castles, titles, conquests, crumbles. But Lucrezia and Burchard are still out there, shaping what's left of the Borgia name. Let's see how they survive. Lucrezia is in Ferrara by 1503, married to Alfonso d'Este, far from Rome's blood and betrayal. At 23, she's endured annulments, murders, and her family's madness. In Ferrara, she reinvents herself, patronizing artists, poets, and musicians, turning the desk court into a Renaissance gem. The girl who smiled through orgies and funerals is now a respected duchess. When she dies in 1519 at 39, she's mourned as a noblewoman, not a Borgia. Escaping her family's curse is her greatest victory. Johann Burchard's diary, hidden for years, is published decades later, a bombshell. His clinical entries, murders, orgies, the Banquet of Chestnuts, shock Europe. Protestant reformers, like Martin Luther, use it to prove Rome's corruption, fueling the Reformation and fracturing the Church. Burchard, who never raised a sword, changes history with his quill, a quiet priest who served truth in a palace of lies. Lucrezia escapes the darkness. Burchard exposes it. Together, they shape the Borgia aftermath, one surviving, one revealing. So what's the Borgia legacy? Their empire's gone, cities lost, marriages dissolved, but their names immortal. The Borgia apartments stand empty, Raphael's frescoes hiding wounds. Tour guides avoid the truth, but some hear scraping sounds at night, a ghostly echo of that Halloween orgy. The Borgias failed at dynasty, but succeeded at infamy. They turned the papacy into a brothel, showing the world what happens when power trumps morality. Their story's a warning. Chase power at all costs, and you'll lose everything else. Alexander, Cesare, Lucrezia, they burned bright and burned out, leaving a name synonymous with corruption's dark grandeur. Thanks for joining this wild ride through Renaissance Rome. If you love diving into the Borgias' twisted saga, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for more WTF history. Drop a comment. What's the craziest historical story you want us to tackle next? Let's keep exploring the past's wildest corners together.